Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to make this full bustier blouse with princess dart, as you can see. So this is not actually the regular off shoulder. This off shoulder, we are making use of princess dart cutting, and we are cutting directly on our fabric. So you can see how fitted this looks on my body. The bustier is well fitted, and you can see the blouse or the off shoulder bustier is fitted. So this is my bag. You can see it's relaxing very appropriately. So if this is what you want to learn in this tutorial, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to make this beautiful off shoulder princess dart bustier. I have my fabric I want to make use of. This is Ankara fabric, and I placed it on fold. So on fold, it measures about 32 inches. So the length of this Ankara, I cut it as short as I want the length of my fabric to be. So here I have it on fold. So at the folded edge, I'm going to mark out my zipper allowance. That is the first thing I will do. I'll mark 1 inch zipper allowance. Then I'm going to rule my zipper allowance. So this is the first thing we are going to do. So after marking the zipper allowance, I'll bring the folded parts and I'll make it touch the point of my line, as you can see. Can you see that? All right, so next I'll just rule a border line which will serve as my starting line. So the next thing I'm going to do is to start taking my vertical measurements. So on this starting line, I'm going to place 5 inches. That is how off I want it to be. If you want it at 4 inches, just come down by 4. But for me, I'm using 5 inches to off my off shoulder. From that 5 inches, I'm going to take the measurement of my chest line. My chest line is 9 inches. I will mark. My bust point is 10.5. My under bust is 14. My waistline is 17. My length of this blouse, I'm making a full princess off shoulder blouse. So I have the length at 25. I'll add 1 inch, which is 26, for the full length. So I'm going to rule my lines. So after marking out the vertical lines, I will come to mark out the horizontal lines. So here at my center front, I'm going to place my tape and take the measurement of my shoulder divide by 2. My shoulder is 15. Divide by 2 is 7.5. I'm going to take away 2 inches from it. 1, 2. So I'm going to mark 5.5. So I'll just go ahead and place my tape and create my off shoulder mark at 5.5. After that, I'll come over to the chest line and take the measurement of my bust circumference. Divide by 4. Bust circumference is 40, divided by 4 is 10. I'll mark. So I'm going to connect this line and this line right now. So I'll just come in with my ruler, or I can freehand it if I want. So this is it. I'll just give it a good armhole curve, off shoulder armhole curve. So after that, the next we are going to do is to start taking the darts. I'll come over to the second line, after the chest line, the bust point line, and I'll place my tape here. I'm using my bust span measurement. My bust span is 7. Divide by 2 is 3.5. So I'll place it on that point. Instead of marking 3.5, I'll add half an inch for my seam allowance because I'm marking directly on fabric. So here I have 4 inches, including my seam allowance of half an inch. Then on the under bust, I'm going to remove half an inch from 4. So I'm marking 3.5 instead 3.5 on the waistline, 3.5 on the hem line. So now I'm going to connect all the 3.5s because they are on a straight line. That is my dart line. Then I'll place this one a little bit slanted and mark it up to the 4 inches. Now the next thing we are going to do, from this line for the princess dart, which is the main purpose of this tutorial, I'll place my tape right here and I'm coming down by 2.5. I'm coming down by 2.5. I will mark. Then at that point, I'll also come down by 1/2 inch from this point. So just mark 1/2 inch before we connect the princess dart. So I'll come in with my pattern ruler now. I'll place it this way, as you can see. From that 1/2 inch to the 2.5, I came down and construct my princess dart. So I have my princess dart line now. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll come back to the under bust point and I'm going to take the measurement of my under bust contour line. I'm marking 2 inches because I'm working on a regular bust size. If you are on a plus size, you can mark 2.5 or 2 3/4 if you are on a super plus size. But for a regular size, I use 2 inches on this line. So I'm going to mark these 2 inches right here. I'll also mark it at the waistline 2 inches. Then I'm going to connect from the under bust to the waistline at 2 inches with a straight line. Then I'm going to connect my bust curve. So for my bust curve, I'm going to place my ruler like this. Make sure you have a good curve. So I'm going to place it to touch what I have on that 1/2 inch and also touch what I have and round up like this. I believe you understand. Can you see? So just make sure it rounds up this way into this line. So after that, I'm going to connect what I have here because I'm making a full gown, a full blouse. I'll come out a little bit. I didn't put it on this line, but I came out just like 1/4 inch and I'm going to connect it to this point. So we are done with the dart on this way. Then we are going to complete the armhole princess dart for the off shoulder. So from this point I marked at 2.5. I'll come down by 1.5 inch. I'll come down by 1.5 inch. Then coming down by 1.5 inch, I'm going to connect again. So the way I connected this, I'll bring it back to this, but I'll just want to use my inner curve. So just do what I'm doing here. This was connected to this at this point. Leave it at that point and move this part alone. Okay, so I'll move this part alone and connect it back to that point. Then this time around, I'll come out from this line. I'll come out by 1.5. Remember we came down by 1.5. Then I'm also going to come out by 1.5 to replace that. So now I'll place my pattern ruler and from that 1.5 and reconstruct my armhole. So this is my new armhole line. I believe you understand all this explanation. All right, so we are done with the princess dart connection now. So the next thing we'll do is to come over to the neckline. So for my neckline, I'll also place my tape at the line I off at 5 inches. Then determine your neckline the way you want, but for me, I will work with 7 inches. So I'll mark my 7 inches. So by the time I sew, I'll have it at 7.5. Now I'm going to construct my neckline. So neckline is by choice. It can be rounded, it can be sweetheart, it can be 4 corner, as you wish. But the most important thing is it should come and touch the 5.5, which is the off shoulder line. So I'm using the neckline for back and front. I want them to be the same, so I will leave it at that. So if you want your neckline to be another thing at the back, V at the back, you can just do V for the neckline at the back. You can just do what I'm doing. You rule a line, V at the back, then U at the front. So it's all your choice. So we can just do V at the back and U at the front. So now we are done with the neckline. The next thing we want to do is to start imputing our actual measurements. So the actual measurements is your bust circumference divided by 4. So on the chest line, that is where we usually impute our bust circumference divided by 4. So I'll just go ahead and place my tape at the center front. Here I will mark, I have 5 inches before this line. Before the princess dart line, I have 5 inches. I'm going to move it to the next princess dart line. This is the next princess dart line. So here I'm going to cut out this dart. So I'm moving it. So watch what I'm doing right here. I'll place my tape and I got 5. I'll move the 5 to the next line, and then I'll measure my 10 inches, which is my bust circumference divided by 4. Then I'm going to add 2 inches for my seam allowance. So I'll mark 2 inches. Okay. Now I'll come over to my waistline. So on the waistline, I'll place my tape at the center front on the waistline. So the dart is 3.5. I will move it 3.5. And then I'm going to measure my waist divided by 4. My waist divided by 4 is 38. 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. So I'm going to mark the 9.5, and I'm going to add 2 inches as my allowance. Then I'll come over to the hem on the hip line, which is the hem of this dress. I'll place my tape at the center front, and I'm going to take the measurement of my hip circumference divided by 4, which is 12, and I'm going to add 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So you can make your seam allowance less than 2 inches. You can do 1.5, but it's good to be at the safer side. So now I'm going to connect all my lines. Then I'll place my ruler this way as usual. I'm going to connect. So since I'm making a full blouse, I'm going to step up on this part. I'm going to step up on that part. I'll step up by 1.5 because I don't want that place to be straight. So I'll step up by 1.5, and I'll place my pattern ruler this way. I just want it to have this fine shape. Can you see? Then I'll place my ruler again like this and blend it up. So this is optional. This is optional. So if you want to do it, you can go ahead and do it. It's not compulsory. So we are done right now. I'm going to cut out the front. Then we'll concentrate at the back. So right now we want to cut out the dress. So I'm going to cut first. I'm going to first cut the back. Then I will separate the back and cut out the front. Okay. So here I'll keep my, so I've cut out the back, as you can see. Then after cutting that part, I'll come over to the part I'm shaping right now, and I'm going to cut straight. Okay. Then the next I'm going to cut is the sides. So make sure you add your adequate seam allowance before doing what I'm doing right here. So I'm going to cut on the side like this. So after cutting the side, I'm cutting everything together. So but for this, I'll cut it together too, which is the dark line. So I'm cutting both back and front together. So I'll just go ahead and cut it. Then I'll cut this part, which is the armhole. So now I'm going to lift up. Remember, we cut the back. So for the front, I will lift it up like this and cut my front neckline. Can you see? So the back neckline is V and the front neckline is U. So I will set this aside. Then note that there's no dart at the back. So since we cut everything together here, I'll separate the back and the front. So I'll just separate them. This is the back. I'll keep it and then cut the front. I believe you understand. So I will separate the back and cut the front. So I'll go ahead and cut on the dart this way. Then I'll cut into the bust area. Then finally I'll come this way and cut out the princess dart line. So this is what we have for the front. So you can see this is the front area. So that is what we have on the pattern for the front. So make sure you make your notch at the bust point. So the notches we are going to use to match it up when we are to sew the dress. So we'll come over to the back, which we separated right now. So once you bring the back, make sure you match the back before we take our final measurement. So I've matched the back, as you can see right now. So the first thing I want to do for the back now is to take my back contour line. So my back contour line, I'll take it on the waistline. So if you look at what I have here, you will notice that I still have my lines indicating my waistline, my under bust, my chest line, and all the rest. So these are the lines. So of course you will see it when you are working on this. So this is my waistline. On that waistline, I'll come in from there by 3/4. That is my contour line. So you just mark 3/4 as your contour line. Then place your tape, your ruler this way to the end, to knotting. Okay, so I'm placing it to knotting. So from there I'll place it to knotting like this, and from here I'll also place it to the neckline like this. So what I'm doing is to contour my back to avoid deep bulge. So once I'm done with this, I'm going to do what? Before I merge them together again, I will cut it off. So I'll just cut it off. So this part we are cutting out is not part of this dress. So I've taken the zip bulge out. So now I can put it back to retake my measurements. So the first measurement I'm going to take is the bust measurement, which is at the chest line. So this is the line for my chest line. So at this line of my chest line, I'm going to place my tape. First, I'm going to take my bust circumference. Okay, this is the line. My bust circumference divide by 4 will give me 10 inches. So this is my 10 inches I will mark. I'll add 1 inch for my zipper and then add 2 inches for my seam allowance. I believe you understand. So I added 1 inch for my zipper because I started my measurement from the beginning right here. So once you place your tape, measure your bust circumference, divide by 4, add 1 inch for your zipper and 2 inches for your seam allowance. Next, I'll come to the waistline. This is my waistline. I'll place my tape. My waist circumference divided by 4 is 9.5. I'll add 1 inch for my zipper, 10.5, and 2 inches for my seam allowance, which is 12.5. Then I'll come over to the hem. I'll also place my tape at the beginning. I'll mark the measurement of my hip divided by 4, which is 12. Add 1 inch for my zipper and add 2 inches for my seam allowance. So after that is done, I will connect the lines once again. So you can see the excess we have because of the dart intake at the front. Okay, so I'll just cut it off and our pattern is ready and perfect. Can you see? So it's ready and perfect. So the next thing we are going to do is to blend in the armhole. You can see the armhole. So we'll just go ahead and blend it. But because we have a curve here, I'll advise you just come out by, let me say, half an inch is okay. Half an inch. Then from that half an inch you can blend in. So I'll just blend in, just because in case you have a shortage when you are joining the armhole. So we are done, and this is what the back pattern looks like right now. So the next I'm going to do is to cut exactly what I have on the back pattern for my lining, and cut exactly what I have for my front pattern on my lining too. So I'm going to reproduce my linings right now, then we'll move over to the sleeve of this. Right now I'm done cutting and I want to cut out the wadding. So you can see how I'm placing my wadding to cut. So make sure you place it at the under bust and cut to the chest line, as you can see. So that's how I cut my wadding, and I'll repeat the same thing for the size of it. So I'll take the measurement of my bust radius to cut out my wadding. So I'll just go for 4 inches, which is my bust radius, and trim it out, as you can see. So right here I'm going to pad it. I'll place my hairstay right on top of it on my ironing table, and I'm going to pad all my bustier. So this is not actually a problem. I know you can do it. So this is my bustier. I'm going to place my hairstay right now, which I've done. I'm going to sew it right away from the down to the upper. So for here you can see for the front we have an excess. Okay, after joining it I told you we are going to have an excess. So this excess I'll simply bring in the back piece and I'll use it to align the excess. So let me just take off this and use this. Okay, so this is the off shoulder part. I'll just match it like this so you can see it's matching accordingly. So I'll come in with my scissors at that point and trim off the excess. So make sure you match it so you have the excess trimmed off accordingly. So that is that. So I'll also use it to trim this part too. I use it to trim this part too, so everything is equal. Okay, so we are sure everything is equal now. So it's time for us to cut the sleeve. So since everything is equal, I'll come in with my sleeve right now to show you how to cut it. The sleeve, just simply come in with your remaining fabric. Just fold it this right now. To determine how much you are going to fold, you are going to use your chest line measurement So my chest line is 9 inches. That is my measurement, and I'm going to add 1 inch for sewing my sleeve. So 1 inch for sewing my sleeve. So I'm going to fold this. I just want to minimize my fabric, so let me fold it in a way that I'll have my exact chest line. So I measure 10 inches. Okay, so it's okay, 10 inches. So that is how you will know how much you fold. Then coming over from the upper part, I'm going to make a crease, a border line. I'll place my tape here. This will serve as my starting sleeve edge. I'm going to go down by 4 inches. Okay, so within 4 inches or 4.5 is your sleeve cap height, or you can use your bust divide by 12. So whatever you have on your bust divide by 12, that will give you your cap height. So for me, my cap height is 4.5. I'll take the measurement of the 4.5. So I'll place my tape and take the measurement of where you want the sleeve to be. So if you want the sleeve to be a 3/4 sleeve or a half sleeve, it depends on you. So for me, I'll just go ahead and make a small sleeve at 11 inches. Okay, so you can attach anything from this 11 inches for your sleeve. You can attach a flake to it. So after taking that, so on the sleeve edge, after for off shoulders is usually between 5 and 4.5, 4 and 5. So if you're on a very big size, 4 inches, 5 inches is good. Or if you're on a smaller size, you can use, for medium size, you can use 4.5. So for me, I use 4.5. So I'll just go ahead and mark my 4.5. Then I'm going to add 1/2 inch for seam allowance, because I'm going to attach it to the dress. So everything I have here is 5 inches. So I mark 5 inches including my seam allowance. So on my chest line, which I have as 9 and added 1 inch, which gave me 10 inches, this is the mark. I'll keep that mark right there, and then come over to the base of the sleeve, and I'm going to take on that length, I'm going to take, wherever it is, I'll take my round sleeve measurement at that point. So for me, I have 7 inches. So I'll add 1 inch for sewing it, which is 8 inches. So for here, I'll just connect it with a straight line. That is for here. I'll connect a straight line. But for here, I'm going to use my sleeve. I'm going to use any of my armhole sleeve. So let me use the back sleeve for this measurement, because that is where we are going to attach. So I'm going to attach this to this. So just turn your sleeve. Okay, let me do it this way. We are connecting from here to here. So just go ahead and cut it out directly, since we have added all our allowances. So make sure your allowance, what you added, is correct. So like I said, 4.5, then I added 1/2 inch, making it 5 inches. So that is for stitching allowance. And for this, my chest line, I added 1 inch. So just go ahead and do what I'm doing right here. Okay, so you just bring in your armhole sleeve and mark like this. Can you see? So that gives you your armhole, your sleeve. So I'll just go ahead and cut this sleeve, adding half an inch seam allowance here. So once I get here, I'll just cut the sleeve this way. Then I'll go like this, and then I'll go like this. So what I did here is only for one sleeve. So I'm going to use this sleeve to cut the other sleeve right now. So I've used the sleeve pattern to cut out both the lining. Before I join the size of this dress, I'm going to take the measurement of my back measurement, my waist, my bust and my hip measurement, divide by 4 plus my zipper allowance. So you can see what I have right now. So I'm going to place it and stitch. So right now I'm done joining all the back and front lines. So you can see I have little excess which I'm going to trim off. It's not actually a problem. So I also did the same for lining, putting them together and trimming off that excess. So I'm done cutting right now. So the next thing I'm going to do is to match up the neckline. So I'll just match right side to right side of neckline now. So your neckline is supposed to match like my own. So I'll go over and stitch and top stitch. I'll come over to the back neckline, do the same thing, stitch and top stitch. Okay, so I'll leave 1 inch here for my zipper. I'll do the same the other way. So now we have the lining and the fabric together. Let me do that. So after sewing the necklines, I gave it a good press, and I'm reducing my lining by 1 inch so I'll be able to sew the hem parts as well. So after reducing the lining, you can see the lining is shorter now by 1 inch. So the next thing I will do is to turn everything, kiss them right side to right side. So I'm going to match from the beginning right now. Each seam line, I'll match them together, seam line to seam line, seam line to seam line. I'll secure with my pin, and I'm going to sew half an inch to the end. So here I've stitched seam line to seam line, and I'm going to turn it to the right side and give it a good press. I'm done giving it a good press, so you can see what the hem part looks like. It actually looks so neat and beautiful. We have a perfect inseam finishing right here. Okay, so for the zipper, for tutorial purpose, I'll just sew my zip right there. But if I want to make it a perfect inseam, I'll also do that for the zip. But for this class, I'll just sew my zip right there like that. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to mark out 1 inch for my zip and stitch my zip. After sewing my zip, then we'll come over to the armhole. Right here, I'm done sewing my zip. I just sewed my regular zip, and now I've cut my knife. So I'm done sewing and top stitch, so you can see the armhole part. So I'll pick up this and kiss it this way. So I'm going to sew separately, lining and fabric separately, so that we have a neat finishing at that point. So I'm going to sew off my 1 inch which I added right now. After sewing the sides, I'll just turn the sleeve. I'm going to turn it like this. So I will turn it and align this edge to match up with what I have, and the seam line to match up with what I have as well. So I can go over to the ironing table and give it a good press. So here is my sleeve, and this is the upper part of the sleeve we are going to attach now. So for the down part of the sleeve, I just want to sew a little flake to it. So for this flare, I'll just take my measurement. So here I have 7 inches. So this 7 inches times 2 will give me 14, which is a round circumference. So I'm going to divide 14 by 6.28 because I'm cutting a circle for it. So I'm cutting a simple 360. So I'll just fold like this and go like this. So my radius is 14 divided by 6.28. I got 2.2 inches. So I'll just mark 2 points before 2 1/4. That is my radius. Then the length of my sleeve. I want to make my sleeve to just a simple handkerchief flare. So I just want to make something different. So I mark from here 5 inches, from here 5 inches. So I'll just draw a square. Okay. So just simple handkerchief flare. I'll just draw a square and then cut out my radius. So I'm going to also fold my fabric and 360 again for the second one. So I just go ahead and attach this so it will just form a handkerchief flare for me. So I'm done sewing the sleeve, as you can see. So this is the armhole part for both of them. So I'll go ahead to attach it on the armhole. So this is the armhole. So before you attach it, make sure you kiss the seam line. Just kiss it together. I love to kiss them together to be sure they are at the same line. Can you see? Now I bring my seam line for the sleeve, open it up and attach as well. So because we took the measurements, you can see it is equal on both sides. So I'll just go and sew from one end. I'll just start from here and stitch to the other side. Finally join the sleeve. Okay, so you can see everything is looking perfect. So I believe this class was helpful to you. So I'll just go ahead and serge. I just wanted one single sleeve, so I'll just serge all around it. So thank you very much for coming to this tutorial once again. If you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video, share to family and friends, drop a comment on the comment section and your suggestions as well. Thank you once again. See you in the next class. Bye.